Hello everyone, Ceri Griffiths, or as you know me, Ceri the Crafter. So I tried something new in July. I've started trying to use my community tab on my YouTube channel. So if you went to my YouTube channel homepage, you looked just under my picture, it would say something like videos, short, lives, playlist, podcast, community, something like that. Anyway, you look to the right and you'll see the community tab. If you click on that, it opens up something similar to a Facebook page, but the difference is I can post on that page and you cannot. However, you can comment on anything I put on there. I can run polls on there. Just it's going to be a way of me sharing stuff with you that I wouldn't share on Facebook, and I'm notoriously bad for social media anyway. So I thought if it's all under the one umbrella, I've still got the Facebook page, by the way. I'm more likely to do it anyway. A new project I wanted to do, because I do get in my comments quite a lot of questions. I thought, right, let's just condense those into question videos. So I put a post out on my Facebook community, I'm sorry, my YouTube community post, and I'm going to do it every 6 months. I'll put a post out saying to anyone, if you want to ask me a question, put it in the comments. Then I will come through and I will take all the comments and put them into a sheet. I've got 5 sheets of them here, and I will filter out just the questions, and then once a month we'll do a Ask Ceri video, which is what this is number 1 of. So I'm going to work my way through the list. I'm only going to do 10 questions at a time, so I don't know whether they'll be short videos, long videos, depends on the questions. I also know there's probably going to be questions repeated throughout time. However, anytime I'm asked a question, I may not give the same answer anyway. I mean, I know there's at least 2 or 3 of the same question in this lot because I've briefly skimmed through them just so I make sure that there isn't anything too personal, insulting, or subject I don't want to talk about or I think is too sensitive or too much of a hot subject, and I won't go there. So right, so I'm going to just work my way through this. Now I didn't record who actually sent the questions in because that would have been way too much, and also if it's a question someone else deems shouldn't have been answered, I don't want you going after that person because you know who they are. I've also deleted the post on the community tab, so this is the only copy of the questions. And I've done that because if you kept adding to that, I would then get to the point where I wouldn't know which were new questions and which were old questions. So once every 6 months, I will drop in a new, do you want to ask Ceri something post, and you can add them there. One thing did happen, YouTube did an update 2 weeks ago. And when it updated, for some reason, it wiped out quite a few of my comments. So I may not have all the questions here. I think I've got 70 questions here. I'm only doing 10 at a time. So you can see I've got at least 6 months ahead of me already to ask. But if you don't hear your question answered, by all means, when next time the community post comes up, go ahead and ask me. I have no problem with that. Right, let's start with number 1. I'll read you the question as is so you've got the context for it. I'd be interested in how you moved from crafting for fun to doing it as a job income stream, and how long it took to become viable, please. I have always been creative. I've always been an arts and crafts person. I never turned it into a business because sometimes when you turn something from a hobby or a pastime or a passion to a business, it becomes onerous and then it's no longer fun, it's no longer a passion. So I'd always kept my creativity away from my jobs. And my jobs in the past have been an entertainer, a dancer, a cake decorator and designer, a product design, lots of things. Always creative though. Obviously, I'm that sort of soul. So how did I turn it into income stream? Well, actually, that was kind of forced upon me when COVID and the pandemic swept the planet. Dramatic phrase. I was forced to lose my business, which was traveling the world. I was internationally flying at least every month, if not more. I'd be on TV shows doing demonstrations for cake decoration design. I'd be judging internationally. I wrote some books. I was a reasonably big thing in the cake decoration world. However, because all of it involved big venues, exhibitions, culinary schools, lots of international travel, it all got wiped out. So what I did was I looked at what I had left in my life, and what I had was my creativity. I had my art supplies, I had everything here. I didn't have to leave the house to go shopping when we were all in lockdown. And I had a YouTube channel, which I've had my YouTube channel, I think it must be 15 years now, maybe 14, 15 years. And I'd only done like cakey stuff on it, or I took people to exhibitions. It had been there because I thought it was part of what I should do. It was never a main focus for me. But when pandemic came in, I knew that I had the skills to make videos. I had the knowledge to make videos. What was hard though was I couldn't do cake decorating videos because I couldn't go out and buy supplies. The companies I ordered from were in lockdown as well, so I didn't have access to all of that. So what I did, I went, right, let's start sharing with my subscribers what I do for a pastime, a hobby. Now, my YouTube channel has been monetized for years. Never been a big income stream. Like literally, it was very little, if anything, I was earning off it. But I thought, you know what? I have no other income stream. Let's see if I can make this work. So let's see. It's what, 3 years now? 4 years, 3 years. I've lost track of when pandemic was. I think my mind has just wiped it out. But I heavily made it a focus of my efforts. For the first year, I tried putting out one video every 2 days. I'd do a video, 2 days off in a video, just to try and build up momentum. And I quickly found that the art and creative community out there was incredibly supportive and liked the fact that I was a guy in a predominantly female world as far as crafting went. At that point, I didn't really call myself an artist because I was like the rest of us. I didn't have confidence in my creativity. I always took my creativity with arts and crafts seriously, but not as seriously as I would have been a business. So with your support and with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, the social media I used to do, I don't do that anymore. I just do Facebook and I do YouTube because I can't keep up with everything. I found a way forward. Did it become viable? If you think you're going to make thousands of dollars off YouTube, you've got to be pretty darned unique to do it. You've got to have a niche audience. You've got to invest a lot of time and effort into your videos. You've got to do a lot of research. You've got to learn all the algorithms. So what I did, because I'm not a techie person, I literally went, we're doing this. Let's make my videos entertaining, educational, but primarily and most importantly, just be me. So you see me, flaws, warts and all. If something goes wrong, I usually leave it in a video. It's very rare that I will make a video and then delete it because it wasn't good enough. In fact, I've probably only deleted 3 videos in the last 5 years, purely because you have said so many times that me messing something up is equally as important as showing you how to do it in the right first place. So anyway, get where I'm going on that. So my earnings from YouTube do not equal what I would assume a monthly wage would be, which is probably why I have several income streams. I mean, I design for PM Artist Studio. I obviously get a royalty for that. I used to design silicone molds for Katie Sue Designs here in the UK. I still get a royalty from that. I've written 3 books and being part of 2 other books, I get a royalty from those as well. I also work 2 evenings a week in a grocery store, stacking food on shelves. Had to do it to pay the bills through COVID, and I kept it going. So with all of those income streams, and I used to have, well, actually, at the time of recording, I have an Etsy store. It will be closing in about 4 days' time. Well, at the end of this month, I'm closing it down. I'm not going to go into details. It's just not going to be there anymore. So that's a dribble of an income stream. And I would say YouTube probably makes up now 50% of my monthly income. It's not enough to pay all the bills, but it's certainly enough to give me freedom to not have a full-time job, just have two evenings a week, which is 15 hours a week in the grocery store stacking shelves. So between YouTube and that 15 hours, I have a monthly income that covers all the bills and helps me with supplies for making videos. I think we've dug deep enough into that question. Right, question number 2. You created the challenge of jelly postcard play this year. Are you thinking of making another of the same kind next year? I have been in conversation with the people who helped support me do that, and I have thought long and hard about it. I believe I will be doing a challenge again next year. I can't do more than one a year. They're way too much work when you're the only person in the business. I will be doing it again. I've learned lots of lessons from doing it this year. Hopefully, with the help and support of the people around me, I'll be able to moderate it slightly so that it will be more encompassing. It's still likely to be a 1-month challenge with you posting an image or a video every day of the month. Is it going to be July? Possibly not. July seemed to have been quite a busy month for everyone, especially if they have children or grandchildren. So I may slip it to another month in the year and the format will change. It's still a work in progress. I do think I will be having one next year. I will give you plenty of notice. I'll do a special announcement and everything. But I am still blown away by the thousands of comments and posts that went out, by the amount of YouTube channels and creative sources that actually joined in on it, the amount of posts and videos and shares and imagery. It's absolutely amazing what you guys did. It inspired me so much to create so much myself. One thing I'm likely to not do next year, however, is if I'm running the challenge, I will probably not be doing it, because trying to run my life, create 31 postcards and try to share and comment on every single video and post was just too much for me. I got through it. I don't think I can do that again. Now, if I have other people who are going to take away part of that from me, I might do parts of it. I don't know. We'll see. It's, as I said, the jury's out on that. Next one. If you were stranded on a desert island, what 5 art supplies would you need? That kind of depends on what day you ask me. I think this is one of those questions that's going to come up time and time again. Probably not the desert island, but possibly what your favourite and what would you have and what would you take. I'd have to take paint with me. I would probably have all of my acrylic paints with me, because acrylic paint, I can paint most things with acrylic paint. I wouldn't take a paintbrush or paintbrushes, because I can make paintbrushes or use things that I found on the island to actually work with. I think I'd like a good selection of paper and cardstock, because I need to work on something. Now, there's going to be things on the island like stone and leaves, and I could probably make paper on the island. Depends on the resources on the island. So we've got paints, we've got substrates to put it on. I take a knife, because very often I will cut with a knife instead of cutting with the scissors, and the knife is going to be a very useful thing for lots of things. So a knife that has multiple blades so I can replace them, that's 3. glue. I'd take a selection of glues. And I think I'd take my coloured pencils with a pencil sharpener. Yeah, I think there you go. That's the five. I think that would work. Right, what's the next thing on here? Since you began doing craft things, what was the project you enjoyed the most? Ooh, that's a tricky one. Um, I have done so many things I've really enjoyed. In fact, I think probably the collaborations I've done, I've really possibly enjoyed the most. I mean, I remember making Big Bad Bald Bob, styrofoam head covered in stuff. I absolutely adored doing that, and I think there's going to be something a follow up to that one at some point. Um, I did a collaboration last year with Kylie Koo Designs in Scotland, where we sent each other items and then had to make something from it. And I made a journal. Gosh, there's so many projects. I mean, just looking around this room, I mean, oh, and that reminds me, I think this month I'm going to be doing the studio tour. I do it yearly. I've got to have a bit of a tidy up because I don't know, you see behind me, I've got so many projects stacked. Yeah, I'm going to try and do, for those guys who keep asking me, Ceri, can you show us how you make the fairy houses? I can't make those on screen. So I've ordered these two Halloween houses from Hobbycraft. They're made of cardboard. I'm going to try and turn those into what more than they are as a project. But that's coming next month probably. Um, Actually, you know one I really did enjoy doing? Paula Keane and I did a swap and make this year. Was it this year? Might have been landed. No, I think it was this year. And what we did was we each made 15 a 15-page signature for a journal and sent it to the other person. And we then had to make a cover and complete the journal. That was, I loved that one. I really did love that. I still cherish that journal. I cherish all my journals, but that one, I haven't done anything with it because I just don't know where to start with it. I mean, the one with Kylie Koo has now become my watercolor journal, and I'm loving that because it's somewhere to put those. But um, yeah, I think Paula Keen in the Netherlands now, I think that's possibly my favorite currently because that's going to change a lot. I mean, I've done numerous projects. Next question. When you were a performer, did you meet or work with any celebrities? Oh, have I got stories for you? In fact, that's probably a whole video all in its own. Um, yes, I did. I worked with considerable amount of celebrities in my life. Um, a lot of them because of my age. If you're younger, you may not recognise. Like I worked with Jim Davison. He was a comedian here in Britain. Um, Craig Greville Horwood and I were backing singers and dancers working together, and he now is one of the judges on Strictly Come Dancing here in the UK. We worked with Danny LaRue, which was a world-renowned female impersonator. I also did, oh God, other stuff. You may know the name Bonnie Langford. Bonnie sat on that shoulder. I did My Fair Lady with Bonnie Langford, so she sat on there. Big names. Let's see. I was in New York with Sophie Loren for the christening of a ship. There used to be a villain in the James Bond movies called Jaws. He was this huge guy, and I think he had metal teeth in the movie. I've met him a couple of times. Gosh, there's so many people. Um, and I'm forgetting all of them. Isn't that scary? Oh, I had lunch with Tommy Tune. For those of you who know Tommy Tune is a Broadway star. Um, oh, this is one. Okay, really short story because it's about questions, not stories. Um, I I for part of my training as a performer went to the Studio Centre in London. The same place like Luke Evans went. You probably know him as Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, and he's done lots. He's a huge amount of work. I was never there at the same time, but Luke, if you ever see this, hi guy, nice to see someone from Studio Centre kicking ass out there. Um, Anyway, so I went there. Now the deal was shows that were in town, because it's in London. Shows that were in town or in the West End, or TV companies would hire our dance and rehearsal spaces in London Studio Centre, which at the time was next to King's Cross Station, and we had a huge amount of rehearsal areas, and companies would hire them on the weekend. Now, part of the agreement that they had to sign in hiring was if any students from the college, from London Studio Centre, were in the building on the weekends, then they were allowed to come in quietly, unobtrusively, sit in to watch a rehearsal, because it was deemed as part of their stagecraft learning. So I used to go in for extra singing lessons on the weekends because I'm not, I can sing. I don't class myself as a singer, but I've got jobs as a singer in time. It makes me really, I get so nervous singing. And go out and talk in front of thousands of people, but singing, a bit nervous of that. So anyway, so this day I went in, I think it was either a Saturday or a Sunday, obviously it was a weekend, and I went in for my singing class. Now, I arrive early for everything. If you know me, I'm always early. I mean, embarrassingly early sometimes. I think it's my anxiety going, I can't be late, so I've got to be really early. And I could hear someone tap dancing in one of the studios. Now, tap fascinated me. I'd done very little tap dancing at the time. Since then, I have tapped with some seriously big people in my life. Again, not the greatest tap dancer, but I do enough to be able to do the job. Anyway, so I could hear this tapping. So I walked along the corridor and went and looked in at this room, and the door was open, and there was this lady there in a black leotard, and she had a black bandana around her head, holding her hair back, and she had a cassette player there, and she was tapping, and she was really, really good. So I thought, right, I've got 20 minutes, I'll go and sit in on this. So I sat in there. I am sat with my back to the mirror, so she's facing me, and she sort of nodded at me when I came in, so she knew I was allowed to come in, and she tapped and she repeated the thing again and again and again. And then I looked at my watch, and it was almost time for my singing lesson. So I got up and picked my bag, and on the way out, she looked at me, I went, thank you. And she said, well, what do you think? And I went, really good. You're good at that, aren't you? And she smiled, and I left and went to my singing lesson. Stupid me, I did not recognise who this was. It was Ann Miller, for God's sake. Huge Broadway star. She was in town rehearsing for, Money. What the heck was it? I can't remember what it's called. Gold Diggers. Gold Diggers, a musical. It was her and, the little guy, Ronnie something. I'm terrible with names. You know who I mean. He worked with Judy Garland quite a bit. I can't, but it was only Ann Miller in there tapping away. No wonder she was flipping good. Of course she was good. She was Ann Miller. Absolutely idolised the woman. Didn't recognise her with no makeup and just a leotard and tap shoes and a headband down. Didn't get it. Mickey Rooney, that's the guy she used to work with, on Gold Diggers, right. On average, how many hours stroke days a week do you spend crafting? That's a hard one. I have a studio in my house. It's a converted bedroom. As you've seen, there's even the video playlist called My Creative Space, where you can see where I turned the bedroom into my creative space. Um, I don't know that I can answer that. I try to be, I try to take Sunday off. However, I will come into this studio anytime I feel like creating. There have been times when I've got up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and put my robe on and gone to the bathroom, and then I've been found 3 hours later and I'm already working in there. It's only 7 o'clock in the morning and an idea has come in and I've walked in and started doing it. And equally, I've been found working till gone midnight because I have this idea I have to create. Um, there are days when I walk in here and I go, not today, and I will turn around and walk back out. I have to be quite regimented to be able to churn out the amount of video footage that I do, because that's what it takes. You've got to be dedicated to it. I would say on average, I'm probably in this room pretty much 9 to 5, 5 or 6 days a week. Now that doesn't mean every hour of the day I'm creating. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be computer work. There's editing, there's photography. I will be in this studio designing my new designs for PM Artist Studio each month. I will sometimes come in here to research a topic. Um, it's a lot. It's an undefined amount of hours is what I'm trying to get at. But because I have the luxury of having a studio in my home that I can go to, there's only my sister and I left here. We lead reasonably independent lives, although we do share a house. Uh, I set my own schedule and I work to it. But I think the secret is that I absolutely love this space. It is my safe space. It's it's what helps me navigate the traumas of life and my anxiety and sometimes my depression. I come in here, I'll light a scented candle on. There's my music box. I'll put music on, even if it's just like rainfall or thunderclouds or whales in the background, or it's George Michael, or it's Queen, or it's whomever, or it's the Little Mermaid, or it's a musical theme, just something. Um, and I will come in here and I'll push the door to. Sometimes Biscuit will come in here, the dog, my dog, and he'll curl up on the floor next to me and have a sleep. Um, but this to me is my creative space. It's absolutely where if I didn't have to leave this place, I probably wouldn't leave this place. If this was bigger, I'd probably have my bed in here, to be honest. It's absolutely my haven, my it's never a task to be in here, except sometimes when I've got to vacuum and dust stuff because it needs vacuuming and dusting. So hopefully that answers that. Um, ooh, it's sort of similar to a previous one. What would be your absolute minimum list of craft supplies you couldn't live without? It depends on what. Now, I'm quite minimalist in this studio. I mean, everything in this studio is only here because I use it. I don't hoard stuff. I do probably about every 6 months, I'll go through cupboards and drawers. And if something isn't being used or has been forgotten, it gets donated to a charity shop. It gets passed on to other crafters I know. There is a woman I know who actually teaches the elderly in a nursing home, and she has no budget, so I'll very often give her supplies, and a few other artists I know give her supplies as well for them to do that. Um, I would say the minimum, was it what the minimum? I want to say the contents of this studio. I know that sounds incredibly selfish, and a lot of you are probably going, you don't need that. You can actually, for my mental well-being, everything in this room is essential. Um, I have simplified my life down to things that give me joy, give me pleasure, help me make it through every day. Like all of the rest of us have things that make it through every day. I mean, I'm single, I don't have children, I don't have grandchildren. Besides my sister, the dog, and my plants, art is the overruling thing of everything. So I want to say, selfish me, everything in this room. That's my minimum. Um, Next question. Is there somewhere in the world you've never visited but always wanted to? Ooh, I am quite well travelled. My life has taken me on many a journey. Um, I'm originally from a military family, and we were on the move every 6 months. We were posted abroad. I've travelled a lot. Also, with my life as a performer, I travelled doing that. And then when I started working on the cruise ships, that took me travelling. Then when I came back and picked up the reins of my cake decorating skills, that led me around the world as well. Uh, there are a couple of places I have not been. In fact, there's probably millions of places I've not been, but I've always wanted to go to the Antarctic. And many people ask me why. I think it's purely because It's the absolute stunning beauty and silence that I think I would find down there. Um, one day, maybe. Um, it's an extremely expensive trip to do. Um, and you never know, if I ever won the lottery or inherited a huge amount of money, I would probably do that. It's on my bucket list. Um, yeah, I think that's probably one of the places I'd like to go. Another place I've always wanted to go but choose never to go is I have never been to Egypt. I have been fascinated by Egyptology my entire life. Like mum always used to tell me when I was little, I used to be drawing pyramids and sphinx and things like that. And I absolutely love Egyptology. However, I want to keep what my imagination thinks Egypt is, and the pyramids and the Valley of the Kings and all that. I want to keep what my imagination thinks it is, because I have heard far too many people say they've gone, it's chock-a-block with tourists. There's litter everywhere. Um, Everything is so commercialized. There's just too much, and I don't want to spoil what I think it would be like. Um, yeah, I think that's another place. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I would like one day to go back to New Zealand. I was raised on an island in the Bay of Islands, which is North Island, New Zealand, and I left there when I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, I think. And I'd quite like to go back there and revisit where I called home. Um, we used to live on an island that was owned by a lord, and we were the caretaker family, so we were the only people on the entire island. When that lord died, he left it to the government, and it's now a big nature reserve. And it would be nice just to go back as a tourist and visit the island just to see what remains. Um, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get all soppy about that. Let's leave that as it is. Um, do I have any cake decorating stories? Well, hello there, cake decorating stories. That's probably a whole nother video as well. There are so many cake decorating stories. So many cake decorating stories. Um, let's see, what two can I say? Okay, I was invited by Kerry Vincent, who was a judge on the Food Network Challenge for big cake decoration challenge program. I can't remember what it's called. Food Network, anyway, USA. You'll probably know her if you're in America. Um, and I was invited to judge it. She ran a big show at the Tulsa State Fair every year. It was in September. And I used to go each year. I sponsored some of the prizes. I used to judge for her. And one year she said, Kerry, do you want to go on the big stage and demonstrate for me? And what it is, it's the Tulsa State Fair, big auditorium, basically with these two stages, eyes side by side. And there was a huge amount of people. I went, yeah, of course I'll do that. So I have lots of friends in the cake decorating world, and a lot of my friends are American friends in the cake decorating world. And so anyway, they were, oh, Kerry, can't do it, do it. I said, okay. So I flew over probably about a week early and built a wedding cake in a hotel room. One for me to be able to work on as a demonstration piece, because I was demonstrating over 3 days, I believe it was. So I would do 2 hours, and someone else would do 2 hours, then I'd come back and do 2 hours. They would do 2 hours. You get the idea. So it's incredibly long dem when you add up all the hours over the 3 days. So I started working on this, and most of my friends are there supporting me, like reasonably big names in the cake decorating. Well, I'm not going to name off names because that's just name dropping, and I don't need to do that. And it's funny because they were all smiling and cheering and clapping, and I was thinking, oh, we're doing really well here, really funny. And they were like all giggling away, and I'm like, what's going on? Okay, something's wrong here. Have I dropped something down? So I looked at my chef's jacket. There's nothing stuck to me. There's nothing in my hair. I hadn't wiped coloured icing on my face. I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? So anyway, the end of the show on the first day, they were there. the end of the show, we were all staying in the same hotel. I can't remember, is it a Marriott? I think it was a Marriott in Tulsa. Um, so we would all meet in the restaurant, in the bar downstairs after the show, and order some food and have a drink, and then go to our rooms and get ready for the next day, because it's quite an ongoing thing. If you're doing an international huge venue demonstration, or you're judging, or you're running stands, or so, it's a big deal. You're exhausted. So anyway, so I got back to the hotel, went upstairs, grabbed a quick shower because the heat in Tulsa, I was just dripping. So went down after I got through a t-shirt and jeans. I went down, and I walked into the bar, and they're all applauding me, and I'm going, "Okay, guys, something is wrong here. What is it?" And after a few giggles, my friend Dawn Parrott went, "Okay, Kerry, we have to tell you there's a couple of things you can't keep on doing or saying." And I'm like, "Oh God, what have I done?" Because I can make faux pas when it comes to language, that I don't know I'm doing something in one country, it's okay, and then the next country it's a huge insult. Or I've said a word I can say here, but I can't say it in Italy, and it's a bit of a minefield. Anyway, so there were two things I was doing apparently. I apologise now if you're watching this video. This is not meant to offend. As you can see, my glasses tend to slip down a lot. You see now I do this to push them back up. That wasn't the case when I was working in Tulsa. I had a habit which I didn't know was an insult. I used to do this to push my glasses up. I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified that I've been doing that all day, and they thought it was absolutely hysterical. I'm going, why didn't one of you little sods come and tell me I was doing that? And they went, "Oh, it's even worse than that." I went, "Oh God, no, what have I done this time?" Now, the cake I was decorating was at least 5 tiers tall. So this cake was probably 5.5 feet tall, and I had on the turntable so it could turn. So I would be decorating and go, "Okay, guys, once you've done this, just whiz around the cake and complete them all." And they'll do, I'm going to go ahead and do that. But okay, now, when you've done the line work here, just whiz around. Whizzing to me was actually just turning the cake around. Whizzing to my American friends is a completely different thing that you do in a bathroom. So yeah, needless to say, I don't say the word whizzing very often anymore, and I certainly only do this to get my glasses back. So that's one cake story. Let's see, find another one. Oh, I know. I used to enter cake competitions here in the UK. There's a big one called the National Cake Decoration, Cake International, at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. And I used to every year enter that. And then when I became more famous, I don't like that word, but more of a celebrity in the cake world, I decided that it was possibly time I stepped back from competing, because it was beginning to be seen by people as, "Oh, he's just showing off, he's going to win another gold medal." And that wasn't the reason I competed. I think when you compete to challenge yourself, to see whether you can actually do something that is either outside your skill set, outside your normal, and I did it to challenge myself. Yes, it was nice to win an award or a certificate, but at the end of the day, it was the challenge of going, right, I'm going to create whatever it is. I'm going to drive with it for 2.5 hours in the back of a car. I'm going to set it up in an exhibition. Nobody's going to know it's me, because you are just a number when you're competing, and it's only at prize giving or when they put the prize tickets on do the public know who has done what cake. So I had a plan. I was going to do this absolutely stunning wedding cake, and it was stunning, with these massive pastelage butterflies. Pastelage is a paste that dries like cement. It's very brittle, however, but once it's dried, and it is pristine white. And I had this idea for, was it 3 or 4? I think it might have been a 3-tier wedding cake or a 4-tier wedding cake that was absolutely minimalistic. It was showing off skills, like the sharp edges on the top edge of the cake, a pristine decorating. I did it as immaculate as I could. I was going for stylish, and it was more about less gave the illusion of quality than more gave the illusion of quality. And on this, I had these giant butterflies perched. If this is the edge of the cake, they were perched on the very edge, and the wings were about the size of my hands. So it shows, and they were pierced, and you could see the light through them because they were so thin. And I knew that I couldn't travel with them on the cake. So I thought, right, I need to do it at the exhibition. Now, I've done the exhibition for years. I've judged at it. I knew how it all worked. I knew that if I got there early enough, there's a 2-hour window where people are setting up their cakes. I could get in there. If I got in there first, I could get up there, put my cake on the table quickly. I was using raw icing. I was going to be able to pipe that on, attach the butterflies that were already assembled. They were in a special box, so their wings were at the right angle, fully supported, little crystal antennae, everything. And I had it all transported there, and I got there. And my friend Jane, who's a lifelong friend of mine, Jane, was with me to help me carry stuff because it was a big cake. So anyway, I got there, I was first in line, went in, signed in, and thought, right, there's not a huge amount of competitors here behind me. No one's going to know which is my cake. I'll go and set up and do it. Well, my plan was shot down in fire because my cake number, which is on a table, so it dictates where I put my cake, was on the table here. And the line to sign in was the other side of the table. So every other cake decorator who was competing basically was watching me as they were walking past and lining up to put their entries in. And there I am. I wanted to be discreet. I didn't want anyone to know it's my cake. And several hundred people saw me putting the butterflies on. So without it, I might as well just come in later after breakfast. But there you go. I did win a gold. I did get a distinction. It was the last time I competed, except for Tulsa, when I did a farewell entry there because Kerry asked me to do it. So yeah, that's cake stories. Where are we up to? Right, very last question, number 10. Oh, it does take a while, doesn't it? Did you ever come across a project which you just ended up wanting to throw the whole thing out the window? Oh yeah. Do you not? I would say probably every third project I do is in danger of ending up in the trash or the dustbin, or up against the wall if it doesn't play nice. Just because the videos you see and the photographs you see of what I create and what other content creators create are, in your opinion, excellent or perfect or good or extraordinary, whatever words you want to use to describe the art created by those who are brave enough to share it with the world. A lot of the things the public see are not always the first version or the final version. A lot of people will edit their videos in such a way that you only see the best, you don't see what went wrong in between. Some people will come in and use editing software for their photographs to change things up. It's an acceptable practice to tweak pictures for like thumbnails or books or magazines or day-to-day life, but to change something from a disaster to a star winner is a little frowned upon. Even by me, it's a little frowned upon. So minor tweaks are one thing, but I would say probably every third project I will get to a point where I'm really struggling. And a lot of times you've seen me struggle with it. And a lot of that is because I don't stay in my comfort zone. I like my comfort zone, but I will very often reach out to a new technique or a new process or something I've never done before, or a new product I'm testing out, or a new method that I've never heard of. And I'm like, let's have a go. Or I'm trying to find a substitute for it. A couple of things I've said in the past, I sort of live by when it comes to stuff like that. If I'm not making a video and I'm trying something out, or I'm creating something for myself, or an art piece, a journal, or whatever I'm creating, if it isn't going right, or I've hit that wall of creativity and gone, I'm done now, I can't do this anymore, I will put that one to one side. I'll leave it on a counter. I'll leave it where it's visible. I will not put it in a cupboard. I will not put it in a drawer. I will not put it in another room. I will not put it in a box. It needs to be somewhere, even if it's on the top of a bookcase over there or something. And I will leave it. And then every day I come into the studio, I know it will catch my eye. And there will come a point, a day, 2 days, a week, 2 months, whatever down the line, where I will have changed the way I'm viewing it, and my skill sets will have changed to the point where I'm like, I know exactly what that needs. Or I may have seen another content creator's video of even a different technique totally, and I've gone, ooh, I could try that. What about that? Wonder if that would work. Let's try that. So I will park it. I will put it in the parking lot and I'll come back to it. If I am making a video of the project, I will not park it, because trying to get continuity in video filming, taking 1 or 2 months in between, I can't do it, guys. I cannot do it. So what I'll do is I will stick to what I say to you guys to do. I trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. I push through until I have something that's an unmitigated disaster or something that's a glorious mess. I will keep going until I get to the point where I'm like, okay, guys, we've all learnt something from this video. I am not overly happy with it, but this is as far as I can take it. Or I will push through ugly and get to the swan and go, okay, I never thought that was going to work. So 2 options. It's very, very rare I will throw something away. The only times I kind of do that is if I'm doing a mixed media project and I've misjudged the surface on which I'm working and it's breaking down, or it's got to the point where you just can't rescue it. I'm not going to waste valuable mediums and paints and stuff to try and rescue something I'm never going to be happy with. That's probably the only time it goes in the trash. And even before it goes in the trash, I would let it fully dry, and then I will cannibalize bits off it. And very often there are sections I can save and I would use in another project. So yes, there are a whole load of things I'd like to throw out the window, but I think I have learnt you have to go through the ugly duckling to get to the swan. And that has come through confidence, which you guys have instilled in me, that my skills can get me to the swan. It's also, I've been creating so long now, I know that 99.999 things can be rescued. You just need to be brave enough to rescue it, and maybe brave enough to be brutal to rip off things that don't work and replace them with things that do work on the project. Also, I'm not precious about what I create. If it's beginning to turn into an unholy mess, I go, what have I learned from this? And the precious bit is the knowledge of the journey I've gone through to create it. Some of the things you've seen me create and I've gone, that's absolutely awful. And on the video I've gone, guys, I'm not happy with that. There's been a couple of backgrounds. There's been a couple of things in my dump art journal. There's been a few things I've gone, you know what, I'm just going to paint. Actually, there you go, here's one on the go at the moment. This was a project I had several years ago. I did for a TV show. I did this and it was teal and gold and it had orchids on the top, and it was about 8 or 9 years old, and I went, right, I need to rework that because there's valuable products here. So I took the flowers off it and I started painting it white, and it turned pink because I had paint in here. I think these were red, these pieces. So this is taking some time to rescue, but I know eventually with enough layers of gesso, this is going to go white, and then this will become a Venetian mask project for the future. I've been very frustrated by it. I could quite easily have thrown that one in the bin, but you know what? It took quite a lot of work to get to the stage I had it at before. I'm just going to have to keep working till I get it to the stage I have again. And maybe in 6 months' time, you might see it as an image, and I'm like, there you go, guys, that's why I did it. Am I going to make a video of it? No. Am I going to make more of mask videos in the future? Yes, I love making masks. But this one, It's going to be a tedious, time-consuming thing to get this back to the point where it's white. It's got a good base for me to paint on or decorate on. You will see it. It will be a showpiece when I finished it. It'll be a showpiece in my studio. But there you go. So that was my Ask Kerry. That was my 10. I'm going to do 10 questions at a time. This was taken 50 minutes apparently. That's a heck of a long time for a video, but you know what? I like talking to you guys. I can get across to you more by talking to you than I can adding in comments. So that's the first 10 done. I will do one a month. As you know, I do Coffee with Kerry once a month. I'm now going to do Ask Kerry once a month as well. I would say probably about January time, I'm going to put another post on my community tab asking for questions. Feel free. Remember, I don't do religion questions. I don't do politic requests. I'm not going to talk about things that are embarrassing or things that are controversial. You can be as nosy as you like, but whether I answer the question or not is all up to me. My YouTube channel, my community is more about being supportive, loving, caring, and sharing, and that's how I treat everything that comes in through my YouTube feed and my social media feeds. So thank you guys. It was a first. I hope you enjoyed it. I need to learn to stop gossiping so much because in future I don't really want a 50-minute video. So until next time, guys, bye.